Hey Emma, has my mother Sarah arrived yet? How is she holding up after the long drive from Pittsburgh?
Yes, your mother Sarah just got here about 10 minutes ago. The movers are helping bring in her furniture right now. She seems tired, but happy to be here.
That's such a relief to hear. I feel terrible leaving all the moving arrangements to you on a workday.
You don't need to apologize. I know how important that client meeting is for your quarterly numbers. Besides, I scheduled my design work around the move.
I appreciate your understanding, but still, this is a big day. Mom's finally moving in with us after living alone for 5 years since Dad passed.
Yes, it certainly is a significant change.
I noticed that pause. Is something bothering you about the arrangements?
No, everything's fine. Let's focus on getting Sarah settled in first.
Are you managing okay with all the heavy lifting? Mom mentioned she brought her antique dresser and those solid oak bookshelves.
The professional movers are handling all the furniture. I'm just directing traffic and helping with smaller items. No need to worry. Besides, you'll be off work tomorrow to help organize everything. We can decide on the final furniture placement then. The movers are just putting things in approximately the right rooms for now.
That works, but please make sure Mom's bedroom is properly set up tonight. Her back has been giving her more trouble lately. She needs a proper bed to sleep on.
Daniel, you've reminded me about the bed at least 5 times this week. I assembled the frame yesterday, and the premium mattress you insisted on is being delivered this afternoon.
Oh, perfect. You're always so on top of things. Thanks for managing all these details. For once, I should actually make it home by 6. No late meetings scheduled.
That's good timing. Could you stop at Wilson's Market on your way back? We need a few things.
Really? I thought you just did a big grocery run yesterday to prepare for Mom's arrival.
We did, but your mother specifically requested ribeye steak for dinner. We only have pork chops. I get it myself, but I need to be here to sign for the mattress delivery.
Why not have Mom sign for it? Then you could go grab the steak yourself.
Wait, you want to leave your mother alone in our house?
Well, I mean, she's going to be living here now, but you seem hesitant. Is there a specific reason you're uncomfortable with that?
She's been here plenty of times before, you're right. But I still haven't installed the lock on my home office door. It's scheduled to arrive today. After what happened last time she visited, I need to secure my workspace before leaving her unsupervised. My client materials and equipment are too valuable to risk.
Hold on! You're seriously planning to put a lock on your door? In our own house?
Yes, I am. My design work requires privacy and security.
This is incredibly disrespectful to Mom. She'll be devastated when she finds out you don't trust her in her own son's house.
This isn't about trust or feelings, Daniel. It's about protecting my livelihood. Your mother has a history of entering my workspace without permission. That can't happen now that I'm handling confidential client projects. And what if she trips over my drawing table or hurts herself on the paper cutter? My professional liability insurance doesn't cover unauthorized visitors in my workspace.
You're being paranoid. Just talk to her about boundaries. She's not some stranger. She's family.
She's your mother, Daniel. And clearly you've forgotten how she accidentally shredded my original wedding dress sketches during her last visit.
That was months ago. She was just trying to help organize your papers. Why do you keep bringing up honest mistakes like they're personal attacks?
Those sketches were commission work worth $3,000. Accident or not, I need to protect my business assets. I'm not leaving until the lock is installed. If you won't pick up the steak your mother wants, she's welcome to go get it herself.
Now you're just being cruel. She's exhausted from the 3-hour drive and moving all morning.
Then you should probably stop by Wilson's Market on your way home. The ribeyes are on sale this week.
Fine, I'll get the steak. Happy now?
Yes, that works. Tell Sarah to text me if she wants any specific sides with dinner.
Will do. I need to get back to work now.
All right, drive safely.
Please try to make Mom feel welcome. This transition is hard enough on her.
I understand.
Emma, I just got a concerning text from my mother during my lunch break.
Sarah messaged you? What about?
She says she hasn't seen you at all today and was wondering about lunch arrangements. She's worried about disturbing your work, but she's getting hungry.
That's strange. We actually crossed paths in the living room about an hour ago, and she didn't mention anything about lunch. Plus, she specifically told me yesterday she had plans to meet Linda for lunch at the senior center.
You've been in your office with the door locked all morning. Maybe she tried calling out, but you couldn't hear her through the soundproofing. Have some consideration for her feelings.
Daniel, I literally saw her at 11 a.m. when I went to refill my coffee. She was watching her morning shows and said nothing about being hungry. And again, she specifically mentioned going out with Linda today for their weekly lunch meetup.
About that, apparently Linda had to cancel last minute. That's why Mom's still home. She's feeling down about her plans falling through, and now she's sitting alone while you're locked away in your office. Can't you see how isolated she's feeling?
I sympathize that her plans changed, but I can't rearrange my entire work schedule on a moment's notice. I have 3 client deadlines today and a video conference at 1 p.m. I wasn't expecting to need to prepare lunch since she said she'd be out.
So you're telling me my mother has been fending for herself at lunchtime this entire week?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. We've been having separate lunches since she moved in. This was discussed and agreed upon.
I can't believe this. Why aren't you making sure she's properly fed? Do you have any idea how this makes her feel?
The very first day she arrived, I offered to prepare her lunches. She insisted she preferred making her own meals during the day. Those were her exact words, Daniel.
So you're just leaving her all alone every single day? This isn't what we planned when she moved in with us.
I have client meetings and project deadlines that require my full attention. You know I rarely take lunch breaks, usually just a protein bar at my desk. This has been my work routine for the past 3 years.
Well, your precious routine needs to change now that Mom's here. Can't you spare even 30 minutes to have lunch with her? She moved in with us for companionship, not to sit alone in an empty house all day.
Let's be clear. She moved in because you wanted her here. You made that decision and basically presented it to me as a fait accompli. And now you're trying to completely restructure my workday?
How dare you question this? I'm her only son, and after Dad passed away, it's my responsibility to take care of her. You knew this when you married me.
Yes, I knew about your sense of obligation, but I also clearly explained before she moved in that my work requires focus and privacy. You specifically agreed that my work schedule wouldn't need to change. You promised this wouldn't impact my business.
I remember what I said, but can't you show even the smallest bit of flexibility? She just wants to spend time with you.
Sarah is a grown woman with her own interests and autonomy. She told me directly that she wants to handle her own lunches. I'm not preventing her from doing anything, except entering my workspace without permission. We share breakfast and dinner together every day, and I'm managing all the household tasks on top of my full-time job. I'm trying my best to accommodate her while maintaining my professional obligations.
Well, obviously you should handle the housework. You're home all day while she's retired. We can't expect her to do chores at her age.
Excuse me? Working from home is still working. I run a successful business that pays half our mortgage. Just because I'm physically in the house doesn't make me the default housekeeper.
Right, sorry, poor choice of words. But Mom is still feeling lonely. Can you at least check on her once during the day?
I can't interrupt client calls and design work every day just to make small talk.
Fine, whatever. I need to get back to my meeting. Just try harder to make this work.
I'll discuss this directly with Sarah since you seem unable to actually communicate with your own mother.
What's this I hear about you driving away Mom's friend Linda when she came to visit?
That's completely untrue. I politely asked them to lower their voices during my client presentation. That's all.
Mom says you stormed out of your office and snapped at them. No wonder they felt unwelcome.
That's absolutely false. I stepped out calmly and quietly asked if they could keep it down. I never raised my voice or showed any anger.
I don't want to hear any more excuses. Why are you constantly antagonizing my mother? She's done nothing but try to adjust to living here, and you keep creating problems. What has she possibly done to deserve this treatment?
Daniel, please listen to me for a moment. I understand Sarah is incredibly important to you, and I respect that. But I'm your wife, and lately you've been completely dismissing everything I say. We're supposed to be partners in this marriage.
Look, a wife and a mother are completely different relationships. There's nothing wrong with me taking my mother's side when she's clearly the one being mistreated here.
I see you've made your position perfectly clear. In that case, there's no point in continuing this conversation.
What's that supposed to mean? You can't just shut down the discussion like this.
You've already decided that your mother's version of events is the absolute truth. You're not even willing to consider my perspective or hear my side of the story. So why should I waste my breath trying to explain anything to you?
All right, fine. I suppose what you're saying makes some sense. Just this once, I'll hear your side of things.
Just this once. How generous of you to grace your wife with a single moment of consideration. That really shows where your priorities lie. Let me remind you about this morning. You were standing right there in the kitchen when I told Sarah about my critical client presentation today. I specifically explained that I needed quiet during my video conference call with a pharmaceutical company.
Yes, I remember you mentioning something about that at breakfast.
Yet, without any warning or consideration, your mother invited Linda over and they started watching TV at full volume right outside my office. When that wasn't disruptive enough, she kept knocking on my door during the middle of my presentation.
So you couldn't take 5 minutes to be a gracious hostess and offer them some refreshments? That's just basic courtesy.
I did exactly that when Linda first arrived. I welcomed her, served them both coffee and those pastries from the bakery Sarah likes. But I had to return to my office for the conference call. Then they turned up the volume on those game shows and started calling my name repeatedly. All I did was step out and quietly ask, "Could you please lower the volume a bit?"
Are you absolutely certain about your tone? Because if you embarrass my mother in front of her oldest friend from the teaching staff.
What embarrassment! Is it somehow shameful that a working professional asked for quiet during an important business call? I communicated my needs clearly this morning and explained why it was so important. Sarah completely disregarded our agreement and my work requirements. She's the one being inconsiderate, yet somehow I'm the villain in this situation.
Your attitude is the real problem here. If this meeting was so crucial, why couldn't you just work from a coffee shop or the library?
Why am I the only one expected to make accommodations? I have thousands of dollars of specialized design equipment in my office. I planned everything in advance and communicated my needs clearly. Why are Sarah's impromptu social plans more important than my career? We specifically agreed that any visitors would be planned in advance. You were part of that conversation, Daniel. You nodded your head and said it was a reasonable request. Do you remember that discussion, or have you conveniently forgotten?
Yes, but plans change sometimes. You need to be more flexible.
Of course plans change, but normal courtesy would be to inform me about those changes. Sarah knows I'm in the house. A simple text message would have sufficed. We'll have to continue this later. I have a project deadline in 30 minutes that I need to focus on. We can discuss this when you get home.
Don't you dare end this conversation now, Emma. We're not finished here. Why is the security chain on? Open this door immediately.
You've made it abundantly clear that nothing I say matters to you anymore.
What are you talking about? Mom told me everything about your behavior. I never realized I married such a heartless woman.
Please enlighten me. What exactly are these terrible things I've supposedly done?
Don't play innocent. You've been constantly harassing and undermining my mother since she moved in.
Those are serious accusations. Could you provide specific examples of this alleged harassment?
Stop acting like you don't know. I'm being completely serious right now. Mom has told me everything about your awful behavior. There's no point denying it.
Once again, I'm asking you to provide concrete examples of what you're accusing me of.
Search your conscience. You know exactly what you've done.
I've reflected carefully and can't identify these supposed transgressions. Instead of making vague accusations, please be specific about what's upset you.
Mom came to my office in tears today. She told me about all the cruel ways you've been treating her. She's completely devastated.
That's quite an allegation. Your mother claims I've been cruel to her, yet you still haven't provided a single specific example. I'm asking you one more time, please explain exactly what this horrible treatment consists of. What specific actions are you accusing me of?
You know perfectly well what you've done. I'm so disgusted by your behavior that I want a divorce.
You want a divorce? After 3 years of marriage, this is how you want to handle this?
Yes, a divorce. You've been systematically trying to make my mother's life miserable since she moved in. I should sue you for emotional damages, but Mom is being incredibly gracious. She says she doesn't want to pursue legal action. That's how kind-hearted she is, something you clearly can't understand or appreciate.
This is exactly what I expected. You're completely dismissing my perspective and accepting your mother's narrative without a single question, just like you've done throughout our entire marriage.
Why would my mother lie about any of this? This is your standard response, deflecting blame and refusing to acknowledge your actions. I'm tired of your constant deception and manipulation.
Fine, I understand the situation perfectly well. At least allow me to collect my design equipment and work materials. I have client deadlines to meet, regardless of our personal situation.
Unbelievable! Even now, all you care about is your precious work. Not a single word of remorse or apology for how you've treated my mother. You're absolutely impossible.
I won't apologize for fictional offenses. You still haven't provided a single concrete example of what I've supposedly done wrong. I won't admit to accusations without any evidence or specific incidents.
And open this door immediately. If you're too angry to face me, just push my things into the hallway. I'll take care of everything else.
I have absolutely no obligation to follow your demands at this point.
This obsession with keeping your office locked is suspicious. You claim it's all about work, but I bet if we looked inside, we'd find plenty of things you don't want us to discover. What are you hiding in there?
That's completely absurd. You've been in my office numerous times. You know exactly what's in here. My design station, drawing table, and client materials.
I don't remember anything about your office, and your defensive attitude only makes you seem more guilty. Do you really think acting this way will convince me to let you back in?
Let me back in? This is my house, Daniel. I purchased it with my savings before we were married. If you want access to this space again, you'll need to apologize to me for these baseless accusations.
Emma, it's been an entire week without any communication. What are you doing? Where are you staying? Why haven't you reached out to me?
I don't see why my whereabouts concern you anymore. You made your position quite clear when you demanded a divorce.
I only said that to emphasize how serious the situation is. You weren't listening to me.
Oh, I understand perfectly now. The divorce threat was just another manipulation tactic. How predictable.
That's not what I meant at all. Forget about that. What matters right now is you telling me where you are.
And why exactly should I share that information with you?
Because we're still married. A husband has the right to know where his wife is at all times. How can you not understand something so basic?
Interesting perspective from someone who explicitly stated he wanted to end this marriage. Your exact words, as I recall.
That was just something I said in the heat of the moment. Listen, I've discussed this with Mom, and we've come up with a solution. If you're willing to make a formal apology to my mother on your knees, showing proper remorse, we'll allow you to return home. She's graciously willing to forgive your behavior under these conditions.
That's an absolutely laughable proposition. I won't be degrading myself with insincere apologies for imaginary offenses. I have no intention of returning to that toxic environment. In fact, I'll be filing for divorce myself if you don't proceed with it. This conversation is over.
What do you mean over? You can't just end things like this.
By over, I mean this is the last conversation we'll be having. You initiated this divorce discussion, and I'm simply agreeing that it's the best path forward.
Stop twisting my words around, and quit saying, "What do you mean?" to everything. Are you being deliberately obtuse, or is English suddenly too difficult for you to comprehend? You're completely misunderstanding everything. I never actually wanted a divorce. I just needed you to understand the gravity of your actions. It wasn't a serious threat.
What actions would those be? I'm still waiting for specific examples of my supposed misconduct.
How can you even ask that? You've been consistently cold and hostile toward my mother since the day she arrived.
That's entirely false. The reality is that your mother has been the one creating problems, interrupting my work, complaining about every meal I prepare, and fabricating stories to turn you against me.
How dare you make such accusations? My mother would never lie or manipulate situations like that. She's an honest, caring person who only wants what's best for everyone.
Let me describe the reality of living with Sarah. I prepare every meal while she refuses to eat anything that isn't exactly to her preferences. She constantly interrupts my work meetings, then runs to you with exaggerated complaints when I set reasonable boundaries. You've consistently chosen to believe her version of events without question, dismissing my experiences entirely. You've shut down any attempt at real communication between us, becoming nothing more than a messenger for your mother's grievances.
I've been trying to help you understand. If you just make an effort to get along with Mom, everything would be fine. Why is that so difficult for you to comprehend?
Your response shows absolutely no self-reflection, just more accusations. Throughout our entire marriage, I've had to exercise endless patience while you act like a child who can't function without his mother's approval. You take her word as absolute truth while completely dismissing your own wife.
How dare you call me a mama's boy? It's completely natural to care deeply about your parent, especially after losing my father. You, of all people, should understand that.
Being close to your mother is normal, but your relationship has become unhealthy. Sarah fabricates stories about me and runs to you in tears with false accusations of mistreatment. You never once question her version of events.
Are you seriously suggesting my mother is lying about everything? That's an outrageous accusation.
Your response is exactly what I expected. You immediately jump to defend her without even considering the possibility that she might be manipulating you. This pattern has been consistent throughout our marriage. This isn't about personal feelings. I've maintained professional courtesy despite her apparent animosity toward me. I've treated her with the same respect I show to everyone, but she seems determined to create conflict.
You're the one spreading lies. My mother has been nothing but patient while enduring your constant harassment. She tells me about new incidents every day. I'll never believe these ridiculous accusations you're making about her.
Since you refuse to accept my word, perhaps you'll believe video evidence. I've been documenting Sarah's behavior over the past weeks. I have clear recordings of her throwing away perfectly good meals I've prepared, verbally berating me when you're not around, and deliberately disrupting my work calls. Every incident is captured with timestamps and clear audio.
You've been secretly recording my mother? That's absolutely despicable. I can't believe you would stoop to something so underhanded and illegal.
I anticipated needing evidence since you never believe my side of the story. And for your information, this state has one-party consent laws for recordings. Everything I've documented is completely legal. I knew you would never take my word over your mother's, so I protected myself by gathering concrete evidence. Your predictable reaction right now proves exactly why this was necessary.
That's completely false. We've always been equal partners in this marriage.
You clearly don't understand the meaning of equality in a marriage. I can't recall the last time you genuinely listened to my perspective or considered my feelings. I've repeatedly asked for honest communication between us, but you cling to your mother's distorted version of events while ignoring my attempts to discuss these issues.
That's not true at all. I've always tried to maintain a neutral position in these conflicts.
You apparently don't understand what neutrality means either. You explicitly stated that you only needed to hear your mother's side of the story. That's the definition of bias, not neutrality. You've consistently accepted your mother's accusations without question. Every conflict has been blamed on me, regardless of circumstances. You've never once supported your wife over your mother's claims.
No, that's not right. There were times I supported you.
Name one instance. I've reviewed every disagreement since our wedding day, and you've consistently sided with your mother every single time.
You're not remembering correctly. I never intentionally took sides against you.
It doesn't matter anymore. You can have exactly what you want, an uninterrupted life with your beloved mother, without your inconvenient wife in the way. We'll all be better off. You can remain perpetually dependent on your mother. She can have her son's undivided attention, and I can finally free myself from this dysfunctional dynamic.
Wait, you can't do this. Mom says she's willing to forgive everything if you just apologize. Why are you being so difficult? Besides, who's going to handle all the household responsibilities when you're gone?
So that's what really concerns you, losing your housekeeper. I wasn't aware that being your live-in maid was part of our marriage contract. If housework is your biggest worry, why not ask your mother to help? Though I should mention that her cooking skills are questionable at best. Remember the food poisoning incident from last Thanksgiving?
How can you suggest that? Mom's in her 60s. She can't be expected to manage household chores at her age.
That won't be a concern much longer. You won't have to worry about the size of the house because neither of you will be living there. Perhaps you've forgotten that I purchased this property with my own savings before our marriage. The deed is solely in my name, and I'm officially requesting that you and Sarah vacate the premises. I've been working from a hotel suite for the past week, and while it's comfortable, I need my professional equipment and design studio to properly serve my clients.
What exactly are you saying? You can't just throw us out.
Let me be very clear. If I discover that anyone has tampered with or damaged my professional equipment or design materials, I will pursue legal action for damages. My entire business depends on that equipment.
I haven't touched anything in your office. You don't need to make legal threats.
Interesting choice of words. You say you haven't touched anything, but what about your mother? Your defensive response suggests something has happened.
Well, Mom was convinced you were having an affair. She thought there might be evidence in your office, so she conducted a thorough search of your belongings while you were gone.
Of course she did. This is exactly the type of behavior I've come to expect from her.
Try to understand. Mom was just worried about my well-being. She was acting out of concern for her son. Surely you can see why she felt compelled to investigate.
A reasonable mother might express concern for her son's marriage, but Sarah has demonstrated a pattern of invasive and destructive behavior. And you continue to defend her actions as if she's incapable of wrongdoing.
Don't speak about my mother that way. I'm telling you she didn't intentionally damage anything in your office.
Intent is irrelevant from a legal perspective. If she destroyed my professional equipment or client materials, I will pursue full compensation through the courts. The law recognizes damages whether they're caused by malice or careless disregard. Additionally, You'll both be named in a trespassing lawsuit since you allowed this invasion of my private workspace. I suggest you begin packing and file those divorce papers promptly.
Please, you can't do this. I never wanted a divorce. I was just upset. Everything will fall apart without you here. Can't we work this out?
Yes, things will certainly become more challenging for you. My income has been supporting this lifestyle. Your old house was sold, wasn't it? Finding affordable housing in this market won't be easy. And since Sarah can't work at her age, you'll be solely responsible for supporting both of you on your salary alone.
That's not what I meant. Stop talking about money.
The financial reality is finally sinking in, isn't it? Your current salary barely covers your own expenses. Now you're beginning to understand who made your comfortable lifestyle possible all this time.
Yes, I know we've relied on your income. I'll talk to Mom about changing her behavior. Just please reconsider the divorce.
There will be no more chances or negotiations. This divorce is happening regardless of your wishes. Even if you completely sever ties with your mother, which we both know you won't, my decision is final. I want a complete separation. After the divorce, I never want to see or hear from either of you again.
You can't really mean that. After 3 years of marriage, you're willing to end everything?
I've questioned this marriage since our honeymoon. A husband who consistently chooses his mother over his wife, who refuses to listen or support his partner. You failed at the fundamental responsibilities of being a spouse. If you contest this divorce, I will pursue it aggressively through the courts. The choice is yours. We can handle this amicably, or we can let the legal system resolve it. Daniel and Sarah spent a week moving their belongings out of my house. Despite their earlier resistance, Daniel signed the divorce papers without further argument, allowing for a relatively smooth filing process. They both attempted tearful apologies during the move, but I maintained firm boundaries and refused to reconsider my decision. The damage Sarah caused to my design equipment and client materials during her unauthorized search was extensive. I filed a civil suit, which they chose to settle out of court. I've since upgraded my home security system and changed all the locks. While the house holds some difficult memories now, I'm still deciding whether to sell or stay. The home office is perfectly set up for my business. I heard through mutual acquaintances that they found a small apartment, but Sarah struggled to adjust to their reduced circumstances. Her resentment apparently grew as she faced the consequences of her actions. Daniel has sent numerous desperate texts asking for help, which I've ignored before blocking his number completely. Free from the constant drama and manipulation, I'm finally able to focus on my design work and enjoy my independence. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content.
Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and leave us a comment down below. It means a lot to us. See you next time!